Hello, welcome back to One Leg at a Time, the podcast about health, wellness, recovery, fun, and music, in which I, your host, Dean Anbar, interview other musicians and creatives about their process, their priorities, and the things that they do to achieve their goals. Today's guest is Mauricio Morales, great bass player, hails from Mexico City. Now he lives here in Los Angeles. That's how we know each other. And he had a lot of awesome things to say about growing up in Mexico, getting into metal, how he got rejected from Berklee College of Music and then accepted into Berklee College of Music. It's a real Michael Jordan story. That was a great talk, and it was awesome to get to hang with him. So I hope you enjoyed this week's interview with Mauricio Morales. I'm gonna steal this pillow.
Please.
Oh yeah.
I grab this little guy right here, man.
There you go. Who is that?
This is a Goomba, man, from Super Mario. My dude.
So my parents didn't really let us have video games. So when I did finally get a Sega, I was really bad at Mario Kart because I don't even know if we owned it. But when I was allowed to play with my friends, they all had it and played it all the time. Mm-hmm. So I was just awful at it.
Yeah.
And so it was not fun for me.
I don't know. It was, I was playing video games at such an early age.
Yeah.
To the degree that I feel like it had a huge impact in regards to how I perceive a lot of things.
Really? Like
music being one of them.
Really?
Yeah, definitely the music from the video games that I used to play when I was very young has stuck with me all the way until now, and it's probably going to stick with me until way later. I feel like it has a really big influence in regards to the music that I like, as well as the music that I write. And it's really interesting because you're hearing this music when you're playing, and you just know that it's part of the game. You're not really thinking much about it, especially when I was not a musician at the time.
Right.
And it's interesting now hearing it back in different moments and being like, damn, this is actually kind of deep,
Yeah, totally.
I think that looking back and also comparing with newer generations as well as older ones.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very obvious that there has been an important change in regards to our attention span. When you're playing a video game, you're being stimulated, right? Yeah. You're being stimulated by a very particular experience, which eventually you start craving. I don't necessarily think it is as powerful as drugs or anything like that, but it definitely stimulates you in such a way that makes you want more, or if anything, makes you experience certain things a little different because you relate that with your normal surroundings. I'm not going to say that it is healthy or not healthy. Of course, sports, for example, have a lot of benefits. And
it's different.
And it's different. And socializing, of course, that's a very important skill to have, being able to talk to someone and have a proper conversation. And
there's a whole social element to video games now that didn't exist until somewhat recently within the spectrum of that.
For sure. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't think it's better or worse. Like I said, I think it's different.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing video games, I think you're also triggering certain parts of your brain that also, develop in other kinds of ways in regards to certain types of problem solving, for example, in regards to, I don't know, being able to react really quickly to certain things. I wouldn't,
in a certain context, for sure.
Yeah. I think like everything else, it's a matter of balance, doing anything in excess is, unhealthy.
Yeah. How do you catch yourself, though? That's the hard part. You want to get into some of these questions?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I have a bunch of questions here. I wanted them to be legs. I couldn't find legs, so they're feet. Okay? So I should change the name of the podcast to the 1 Foot at a Time podcast. So, pick a foot. Anyone, and then, we can talk about it.
All right, let me see. It's the color green. There it is.
There's a green.
What has helped you the most when you were struggling? Ooh, that's a really deep one.
So this is the thing. Not all the questions are super deep. Some of them are.
I just so happened to pick one.
let's backtrack it, because you picked a big one. What would you consider to be a time that you were struggling?
There have been a bunch of times that I've been struggling for different reasons, like it can be for personal reasons such as a breakup. Mm-hmm. It can be for professional reasons such as, not getting into the school that you wanted, or not making it not getting the gig that you wanted, or, they could also be like more personal struggles such as, thinking of yourself a certain way that might be not so positive, and trying to find a way to be the person that you want to be with the world, and so there's what I'm saying is that there's a numbers of different types of struggles. One that I experienced that I think, based on the fact that you're a musician as well, you can relate to this one very, very much. When I was applying to college, actually, I was very much set. I wanted to go to Berkeley. I went to the summer programs and whatever. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to get a scholarship, and also as a challenge to myself to kind of prove myself that I was, growing as a musician, and that there was value in what I was doing, right? And the truth is that I was so set in that I didn't actually apply for any other school. The truth is that Berkeley's branding and marketing is so good that honestly, it really got me.
And they attract a lot of international students too, right?
That too.
There has to be a reason for why you see so many international students at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
So anyway, in my particular case, I went to these summer programs, and I felt very, I felt like I was in my element.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, of course, there's a lot of musicians and music and arts in Mexico, but I wasn't necessarily surrounded by musicians. I would go to music classes and, try to make a band with friends and whatever, But
growing up in Mexico, you mean?
Yeah. But it's not the same as being in a place where like everybody around you is a musician. And I was craving that, right?
The level of dedication amongst your peers when you're at one of those Berklee summer programs is unmatched.
I know, and it was very inspiring, to go and see like all these kids from Israel or from Europe from the
Japan,
United States, playing like at a very young age, playing at a very high level. It was very inspiring and gave me a lot of perspective, made me grow a lot. But what I'm saying is, I was set on the idea that I was going to study in Berklee, and I auditioned. I didn't think there was any reason why things shouldn't go my way. I didn't imagine that I would be denied admission. If anything, I was thinking what kind of scholarship I was going to get.
Sure.
That was my mindset, and then turns out that, I was denied admission, which
really?
was really, really heartbreaking at the time, because, I'm thinking at this moment, like, wow, I've been like spending all these years dreaming about the idea of being a musician, and I'm imagining that to a degree what you do creates a sense of value, based on how you are perceived by your peers or by, in this particular case,
I think that's something that creatives really take to heart. We identify so strongly with what we do, which in and of itself it's not a great way to conduct how you feel emotionally.
I'm not going to say that I was a prodigy or anything like that, because I was not.
Well, obviously at some point between then and now you put in hours,
for sure.
And you worked really hard. So was that really a catalyst for that?
It was well, no, not really, because I didn't start practicing more or less. I kept working on it. It made me feel or question my value, because I thought like, wow, I've been spending so much time in music, and I feel at the time, I feel like that's what I'm best at.
Yeah.
And now I'm being told that I'm not good enough.
Right.
So what
by the one institution that you put all of your value on.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's gotta be tough.
I had to figure out what my future would look like. I was so committed to that idea at the time that I just kept going for it. So answering the question, probably what helps me the most, honestly, is communicating. You know, like I know that people sometimes kind of shelter or alienate themselves from others.
Isolate. Well, I'm saying I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, I am the complete opposite. I become an open book that just needs to process. I just need to process my feelings and talk to everybody about it and figure out what perspectives they have and like just talk a lot about it. And like my mind has like, I have a lot of anxiety. So I'm just thinking about it nonstop. So I just kind of talk about it for hours and hours. Like, for example, my mom, I can't imagine how many times heard me talking about the same thing over and over again, you know, and like always listen to me. I never really considered the idea of giving up, thankfully, you know, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought like, this is what I'm going to do. And like, if they didn't take me now, I will do it again until they take me and give me a scholarship, you know?
So
like,
is that what ended up happening when, in that case?
More or less. I mean, my parents...
I want to hear the end of that story.
Yeah, well, basically my mom kept telling me like, you should send them an email and like ask them if they can share with you what happened, so then you can prepare for the next audition.
Yeah,
you know, at the time I was like, no, Mom, like they're like they're a university. They know what they're doing. Like they're not gonna. Do you know how many auditions they have? You're not gonna even remember, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, but what if there was a mistake or something? And I was like, no, they don't make mistakes, you know. That was my...
Well, they don't send out rejection letters by mistake, but it is cool when you realize that there are people there who want to help you. So
Right.
if you do take that advice and you reach out, and it's not, you know, just universities either. Like most people
Yeah.
want to help, just period, you know, and if you reach out, like for the most part, what you'll get in response is like, you know, this is what you should know or whatever. This has been my experience, or if you do this or don't do this, you know, that might get you a little closer to your goal. I know for myself, I tend to get shy, I guess, about asking for help. It's not comfortable for me always to ask for help.
Yeah.
But I think that the sooner that you realize that you have nothing to lose by asking, the better off you'll be, you know?
Well, to finish the story, I told my mom for months that I wouldn't do that. There was no need. And then like she was telling me that enough that at some point after months, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. But not because I think it's going to work, just so then you stop asking me to do it, you know? Basically.
Yeah, okay.
So I sent an email to admissions or whatever, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
And
probably admissions.
Yeah, I don't hear back from them for like a month or something like that. And then they respond to my email in a very cryptic way. And they respond to my email saying, hey, Mauricio, do you have your high school transcripts? And I'm thinking, yeah, why? Oh, can you send them to me? I don't see them on your file. Okay, cool. Send them my high school transcripts. And next thing I know, they send me a letter of an acceptance letter with a scholarship. And then I'm thinking like, they never said that there was a mistake, or they never said anything other than welcome. You can start next semester if you want, you know?
That's so strange.
I know.
What happened, you know?
I don't know. I didn't ask, you know. At the time I was just thinking, of course my mom was right, I guess. You know, the moment I told her, she was like, yeah, did you see? I told you, you know? And
yeah, but that's weird.
It was a little weird, but you know, what exactly happened, I'm unsure. At the time I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to jinx it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because what if they were like, no, actually, never mind. You know, like I didn't know what could happen.
Could you actually send them again? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, so I was like, I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna go. You know.
Yeah. Right.
And I went to college there and whatever. You know, but and like that one, there's been plenty other situations of struggle. Of course, we all have. And but essentially, the way that I deal with that kind of struggle is very similar most of the times. You know, it's like I look for friends.
Yeah.
I look for connection.
Well, that's beautiful. Yeah. Very healthy, well-adjusted way of dealing with that kind of thing. You want to bump another foot? What do you got?
Let's do it. You choose it.
It's my choice?
Yeah.
All right. I can do that. Ooh. Let's see. What do we got here? Do you exercise?
I do.
Tell me about it.
I exercise 5 times a week.
So you're pretty regimented.
Yes.
We had talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we did that gig together. I guess what I'd want to know, how did you like settle into your regimen that you have? You know? Yeah, because for me, it took a lot of, it's constantly in development. That's what I'll say about my exercise routine. And what started with like, my only focus really at the time was dropping body weight because I was just heavy always. My whole life I was heavy. What I really had was a food addiction. And it was a combination of, I want to figure this out. I want to understand what I'm eating and why I'm eating. Yeah. And I want to drop the excess weight that I've been carrying around for so long that I just can never seem to do. So with those two things, you know, I was just pretty much doing a lot of cardio and also monitoring everything I was eating. And then the cardio developed into like a passion in and of itself. So then it was long distance running and yoga for a long time. And then that developed into a strength training routine that sort of grew out of an interest in calisthenics, which was, again, sort of an offshoot of the yoga in and of itself. So even what I do now, so far as strength training, where I do lift a few times a week, it all kind of stemmed from essentially very basic like movement concepts, and then a general sense of like, I want to feel better, period. And like, at the time, my health was so out of control, and I had gone through so many ups and downs with different things that I had been trying and doing. And then, you know, it's just, all it is to say is I wanted to figure out something that really worked. So talk about this 5 days a week.
Well, I was raised, you know, with a, I want to say that it was strict, but my parents always made an effort to teach us, you know, good habits. Yeah. Such as eating healthy, such as exercising. Both of them to this day still exercise. I'm not going to say that they are like, you know, lifting weights every morning or anything like that, but they do make an active effort to exercise on a regular basis. You know? So it was important to them. When I was younger, I was in the swimming team. I was swimming on a regular basis. So sports was, you know,
such a good exercise.
I didn't care for it. I mean, it is a great exercise.
I don't like it. I don't like swimming, but I just know that it's good. You know,
right now I think about it. I feel, you know, I think of it fondly because, you know, nostalgia, right? Sure, but at the time I hated it, you know. I thought like, why am I doing this when I could be at home playing Nintendo, you know? Yeah. Or whatever, you know?
There's that video game thing. Again.
Exactly. So it was always kind of there until it reached a point that, you know, my parents couldn't really force me anymore to keep swimming. Yeah. Which is when I was, I don't know what, like 13, 14, that I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore, you know? So they kind of let me not really be into sports because, I mean, I was, you know, doing school and doing other things. And, you know, in my particular case, it was always the opposite. I was always very skinny and always had a very hard time gaining weight.
Yeah, people like you, brother. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So I didn't have any direction. Sure. I didn't really know how to train. That's a big deal. You know, like really figuring out a way to...
Depending on what you want for yourself, it is a big deal.
Well, I was still working out with very little success in regards to getting stronger or looking any differently. You know, I didn't look bad. I wasn't like so, you know, scrawny or anything like that, but I also didn't necessarily look like someone that was going to the gym, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I do still, you know? And
Well, you look healthy.
Yeah.
It's funny because what I think of is like, it depends on what you want for yourself. I do stand by this idea that like little consistent things add up.
Yeah.
So nothing is going to change overnight for anybody. But there's a lot of people who I think would just benefit so much from just like, if you can figure out, it doesn't matter what you do. If you spend 20 minutes 3 times a week doing something for yourself, like you will feel better.
Yeah.
You're not going to look like The Rock.
Yeah.
Or a superhero. But
yeah,
like,
no, I mean, that's also not what I'm aiming for.
Okay, so wait, so 5 days a week, what do you do?
Yeah, well, the thing is that what happened is that years keep passing by. And of course, the more time passes, the more I'm aware that I'm growing older, and
that's real.
And I know that, my body is not always going to be the same, and that, same thing that my parents always try to teach me, healthy habits lead to a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
So I, decided to start making a serious effort to commit to working out with regularity in order to, be healthy. In this particular case, of course, the idea of looking good and feeling good with myself was there as well. But I was thinking, I am a musician. Health is very important. My body is very important. It needs to be in good shape in order for me to play music for as long as I want to be playing music.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to be strong when I'm old. First of all, I started feeling really good with myself. It's
So
a really good feeling. I started feeling stronger, and not stronger as in, hey, let me lift you right now.
Right.
But as in, it just feels different, and
it's pretty amazing how that can have such a positive mental impact. I remember when I started, like I was saying, when I was getting into the cardio thing and like, talk about a breakup. I was going through a bad breakup at the same time. And I just remember, like, for example, the first time I managed to run like 4 consecutive miles. And the day that I ran 4 miles, I was like, there is nothing in the world I can't do, And like that is powerful.
Yeah.
If people can do that for themselves, no matter what it is. But it was just like, I just did that.
Yeah.
What, next.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing because it is not a competition or anything like that. It's something that you do for yourself. It's a commitment that you do for yourself, and same thing. Like that kind of discipline also becomes a part of other aspects of your life. I feel like being able to be, consistent with any craft, will allow you to you will learn from that and be able to apply it in a lot of different ways. In my case, it was not that I learned to be disciplined in music because of exercise. It was the other way around. I was very disciplined with music, and because of that, I was able to learn how to be disciplined with something else.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So that's how I got to the working out thing. It is something that I hope to be able to keep a part of my life for as long as I can. Of course, I can never say that it will be forever, because who knows how it's going to be when I'm a parent, how it's going to be when I'm touring. It's going to take some adapting.
Yeah.
I will make it work. Yeah. But, I think...
Touring, you can definitely make it work.
Yeah.
Parenting, I have no experience, so I can't say for sure, but I know that there are parents who manage to make it work.
For sure.
And you fit in, what you can. Like a lot of times I work out at home on days that I can't get to the gym for whatever reason, and I'm always surprised by how much I can get done with just bare minimum body weight and whatever else, you know. Yeah.
It's a very important part of my life right now. I feel very happy that I am doing it. I feel very happy with myself in a lot of different ways. So I don't see myself ever getting out of that habit.
Yeah, good. I mean, there's no reason to.
Yeah. So that was that question.
That's that question. All right, pick one.
All right. This one says, what was the turning point that made you want to become a musician?
Aha.
I don't know that there was a turning point.
No?
Actually, no. I mean, I don't know that I always knew that I was going to be a musician, because...
when did you actually start playing?
When I was 14.
You were 14 and you started playing bass?
I started playing bass.
Okay.
Yeah. Before that, to be honest, the thing is that when I was a kid, I was a kid. I was playing with my toys. I was, watching cartoons, doing kid stuff that I look back and beautiful childhood. I'm honestly very lucky on that end.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily thinking of what my purpose was or anything like that. I was just enjoying being a child.
No existential crises.
Nothing like that. And I guess at the time, I was always good at drawing little cartoons and doodles and whatever.
Dude, doodling was my thing too.
Yeah. So I thought, I enjoy cartoons so much. So maybe I will make cartoons when I'm older.
That was my very first thing. I was like probably 10, 11 years old. Yeah, it was all about cartoons, and like my parents sent me to an art camp. Like I was an artsy kid. I was not a sportsy kid.
Same. I never was. Yeah. But one thing that I always really enjoyed was music.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I wasn't necessarily thinking I want to play music. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My dad would share his records with me. I would always play them with them or without him. And little by little, I started developing an interest in it in a way that I started asking for my own records. It's like this, I want to check out this Linkin Park Hybrid Theory
was he
record.
receptive to that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. They really supported all the music that I
my parents weren't until when I was like, I want to get this Limp Bizkit record. My parents were like, I don't know, parental advisory.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's an important difference because English is a second language for me. When I was that age, I didn't understand a word they were saying. I don't know if I don't know if I would be saying the same thing if it was like in the same language in me, and I was hearing the things that they were saying. At that age, to be honest, that has had a big impact in how I perceive music in general. Because I hear a lot of people that tell me lyrics are the first thing that I listen to. If I am going to listen to lyrics, I need to actually pay attention and say like, all right, I'm going to listen to lyrics now. Because otherwise I'm listening to melody, because back then that's how I learned. It's like I was listening to words that I didn't know what they meant, but I could hear melody.
It's such a funny thing. Now, and I think this is a conditioning thing, like my ears just gravitate towards melody, harmony, and specifically guitar.
Yeah.
Even if it's a guitar part that's like tucked way in the corner of a mix, whatever, like that's where my ear goes. And even like I just last night heard this song and I was like really into it. It's by this old Haitian band called Les Glue Glue. I don't even know I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it.
Yeah.
But I kind of like have been obsessed with it and sending it to a bunch of my friends.
Yeah.
And my friends are going like, the drums on this are so weird. I didn't even think about what the drums were.
Yeah.
I was just like, the guitar was so cool sounding and the harmony was just like really like my kind of thing. And I dug it a lot.
We are wired a certain way, It's like, of course, because you're a guitar player, you experience or pay attention to certain things more than others.
Yeah. What I'm curious about is you're talking about getting into this music as a kid, and you were into music, like, because for me, what started to happen around that age that you're talking, a little earlier, maybe around the ages of like 11, 12, 13, was I started to really identify my emotional state with like the music that I was into. So it was, it was like metal for a while, and punk for a while, and ska for a while, and Rage Against the Machine for a while, and like
I was a big metalhead, man.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like even when I was younger, maybe without knowing it, I was sensitive. And the thing is that music is a form of expression, and I don't mean only playing it or writing it.
No, it's
the listening to music and displaying in a way the music that you like, being this by singing it or by, I used to wear metal shirts every day. That was my wardrobe, It was the way that I expressed myself. This is the music that I like, and this is who I am. This is how I feel,
Yeah.
And it started like that. It
sounds like you and I are speaking the same language. I felt like I was predetermined to be a musician, and it predated even picking up a guitar for the first time.
Hey, that was kind of the thing, because you're right. Even before I was, I had an instrument. Before that, because I asked my parents for an instrument way before I got it when I was 14 years old. And the reason they said no was because like we don't want to necessarily spend money in something that you're going to let go of. You know, and I think it's more important that you focus on other things. I was really young, and yeah, it's true that a lot of times kids, you know, like have little moments, and you know, like they get really excited about it, and then they just dump it, you know. And
yeah, I mean, that always strikes me when I hear or I see students who were being forced into doing it at a young age.
yeah.
I don't think that that's going to foster like the types of relationships with music that you and I have.
No. I don't think so either.
So I'm actually glad that my parents didn't really they didn't push me towards music. They were supportive, but I was never I wasn't that kid who had to take piano lessons when I was 5 years old or anything.
I got the instrument, and I wanted to play in a band, you know. It's I didn't want to be good. I just wanted to play in a band. That's all I cared about. I didn't really understand what being a musician entailed, you know?
No, there's no way to really know. But I also think that because you're saying that you were into metal when you were a kid.
No, when I was a teenager, I got really into metal. I still am. I guess the idea of music started kind of settling. And I started to realize how much I really loved it and how much I really wanted it. And then I realized that, you know, playing in a band was not enough. You know, I wanted to be really good at what I did. You know, I wanted to be, and I came up with that idea that I wanted to be the best bass player in the world. I never understood what that really meant. You know, it's you're a teenager. It doesn't
really mean anything.
No.
But it still doesn't mean anything. I just saw, somebody sent me an Instagram reel today of Corey Wong, and he was like, you can't call yourself a masterful guitar player unless you can do this one thing. And he was talking about identifying notes on the fretboard. I was like, okay, I mean, that is definitely a good thing to be able to do. I don't know if there's a single standard metric by which one can say you're a masterful guitar player and you're not. Hendrix probably couldn't do that, you know? But so what?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, a lot of things, it comes to realize that exercise you can quantify based on maybe to a degree how much you can lift or how much you can run or what
your progress is.
Yeah.
That's a big, and because that is easily quantifiable.
Exactly.
Even if you're not trying to be the strongest, you can say, well, a year ago I could lift 50 pounds and now I can lift 100.
Now,
you know,
in regards to music, I think that there are certain things that are also quantifiable, such as speed, repertoire, you know, how comfortable you are playing certain meters.
Sure.
Whatever. There are certain things that you can that are clearly noticeable, but it reaches a point in which it is definitely beyond that. It is not necessarily only the physical aspect of music that matters, but rather everything that's not that. You know, how you know you are creating something that's truly meaningful. You know, and that's something that a lot of the times people miss, you know, when you're really focused on the technical aspects of the instrument, you know, all of that is very important. I work on all of that as much as I can. But at the end of the day, I'm not playing to try to play faster than someone. Right. I'm playing because, you know, sometimes the music needs that density in order to be, you know, the best that it can be. Sometimes the music calls for it.
Sure.
And I want to be ready for whatever the music calls for, whether it is being able to play something ridiculously fast or something that's just really mellow and beautiful. You know, I want to be able to be capable of dealing with any musical situation. I think all that makes a difference is the intention. You know, is the artist trying to say something? Is the intention to make a song that moves you in any way, shape, or form? Or is the intention to blow someone's mind because how fast you play?
You want to pull the next one?
What kind of kid were you in high school? I was a weird kid.
I guess we did kind of talk about this. Were you a band kid?
There was no such a thing as band in my school, you know.
No.
That's
so
that's
Mexico City, right? Where do kids learn music in Mexico City?
There are music classes in schools, but they are not really focused at all. You know, it's like one of those classes that, at least in my experience, you would go and get an easy. Well, in Mexico, it's a 10, not an A, but essentially an A.
Okay.
Right? You know, it's like one of those. They don't really develop or go that deep into the craft. So it's more something you do outside of school, and you find, your own teacher, or there's some schools that do that or whatever,
Okay.
So no, I think I was obviously like an artsy kid.
Were you skipping school? Were you a good student? Never? Okay, yeah.
I wasn't a good student. I didn't give a shit about school.
Yeah.
But I never skipped school and I never missed classes. I wasn't rebellious like that. You know? I would go to class and I always managed to get decent grades, not the best grades, but not bad grades. I was always in the middle. What would that be in English? Like a B?
I was really not motivated to do anything that didn't interest me. So my parents had a math tutor for me, not because I needed the tutoring, but because really what it was an hour a week that I was going to do my homework. It was really that simple. And I did skip school. I would go and I would skip a period and go smoke cigarettes and, the field across the street from the school, or sneak off and go to the Wendy's and, because we weren't supposed to leave school and stuff like that. So I did have my moments of rebellion, and every now and again, a teacher would kind of pull me aside and be like, hey, listen, I know you skipped, or you smell like smoke, whatever, you can do better than this.
If you think about it, when you're that age, you have your whole life ahead of you. So it is true that you can make the decision of doing better. Anyway, I wasn't skipping school or anything like that. I was very, very unpopular. So I had
unpopular.
I had 2 friends, and I got along with them.
I didn't have a ton of friends, but I think I thought I was less popular than I was. I always felt like an outsider, but then looking back on it, I'm like, I guess, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe that was just my own conception of who I was at the time.
Based on common interests, people will find their own cliques.
Yeah.
That was true in my school and growing up as well.
Yeah.
And I experienced a little bit of that too. It's just that where I was, there were not a lot of people that were interested in music, and the ones that weren't into the music that I was into.
Oh, really?
So it was there was already a difference. I had my group of friends, or people that I enjoyed talking about metal with, or music that I would exchange CDs with, and that kind of thing. I did have that. I did have people that I really liked, and I guess I'm speaking from the grand scheme of things, and also in the way that I personally felt at the time.
Yeah.
As a young kid, like I said, I wasn't super rebellious, I don't think. I wasn't at this time, kids in my school were already exploring, I guess, alcohol and cigarettes and these kinds of things, and I was not only not into it, I was a little scared of it.
I was scared of it until I tried it. And it was because a friend of mine was just like, hey, my older sister got us pot, and I was like, oh, let's try that, But I never in a million years up to that point would have thought that I was going to be doing that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was there, and I'm like, well, this is my friend, and we're cool. Yeah. So all right,
For me, all of that was in college.
Yeah.
That it was when I started first of all, feeling that I belonged in a social environment. So it felt like I could, have fun like that. It just felt a little more, I just felt more involved in these activities when there were people that wanted to be around me, that I wanted to be around,
I can see you really coming to life at Berklee College of Music, hanging in those practice rooms, jamming with the other Berklee kids,
I had a very hard time socializing when I was younger too. I didn't really know how to. Put me in a setting with people that I didn't know, and I would wait for them to start conversation. I would answer awkwardly, and if I were to say something, I would probably be like, "What bands do you like? what do you like Iron Maiden? Some stuff like that." It's I think about it, and it's endearing. I really didn't know, and I guess the socializing or the being able to have conversations really came with me learning who I was and feeling comfortable under my own skin.
Is also another thing. Everybody feels this way. And I think it is interesting when you sort of realize that it's just like, oh, like, there's no reason for me to drag social awkwardness into a situation just because I feel socially awkward. Everybody feels socially awkward. And the people who you think don't feel socially awkward probably feel even more socially awkward or had at some point and like learn to deal with that. Like, I don't know. It's just, you know, everyone's kind of the same.
Yeah, but I think everybody experiences similar feelings, I guess. But at the same time, I think that this is a journey that is very personal, and it varies a lot depending on a lot of different factors.
But it's not the experience. Obviously, well, the experience is going to be different from person to person. But it's the internalization and the misconception that the way that this person is fundamentally different than the way that I am. Because in some ways that'll be true, but in a lot of other ways it's not. And you're just sort of basing that off of your perception of that person.
I think that everybody feels insecure at one point or other in their lives for different reasons.
Sure.
That's why I'm saying that all these social aspects vary from case to case, because everybody experiences these kinds of things so differently.
Yeah.
And some people learn to deal with them and some people never do, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I feel lucky that I have really gotten to learn about this by, I guess, observing my environment as well as all the introspection in regards to who I am and how I perceive myself and how that impacts the ways others perceive myself and what might be just, you know, inner turbulences that might, you know, be only hurting on the inside but have nothing actually on the outside. I don't know. I'm babbling at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty open-ended question.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple more. See what we get.
All right. What is your favorite pre-show meal?
Hey, that's a good one.
Pre-show. The things that I don't usually do pre-show, I usually do after show.
Me too.
But
not everybody is like that. I do know a good number of people who like they prefer to be fed before they hit the stage.
The thing is that you know why? Because it makes me sleepy.
I'm the same way. I don't like feeling full when I play.
Yeah.
I would rather be on the verge of too hungry.
But for example, that last time when we played that gig, we ate before the show.
Devastating.
We ate so much, you know?
You ate a lot.
I ate a lot.
Just like, man, these are good, but like I got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. But it's funny though, because yesterday I did this gig and they had this full spread and there was like a taco station.
Yeah.
And there was a cacio e pepe station. They had a lot of food there. And I had like zero self-control. I still, if I'm not careful, like I can really go nuts. And then they had all these desserts and man, it was like, I just was like a vacuum.
Yeah.
You know? So that was rough. A lot of times on a tour, your options are sort of limited to like, or you get to kind of choose. So I'm wondering if you have anything that you would gravitate towards naturally.
I guess that when on tour, definitely make an active effort to avoid unhealthy stuff.
Totally.
How do you do because that? I guess that in my particular case, I didn't need to work that hard because everybody around me kind of has similar mindsets. So we just kind of pursue the same thing. Yeah. And I guess all that matters to me in that particular case is health over, cheap stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, when it is a show, like my own show of my own music, that's a different thing because it always feels like a celebratory meal. So I don't care if it is a delicious fat taco,
Well, but that'll be after.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And in those cases, you're going for tacos after the show.
I would say so. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
What's your favorite taco in LA?
In LA, the thing is that it's very hard to compare to the ones at home. I've tasted a few that are pretty good, but none of them have been like, oh wow, this is like amazing.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Man.
Yeah. Like they're good, but man, it's
just not the same.
No, it's not the same.
All right, do one more. I want to see let's see what the cards have for you.
All right, this one. What was the first show you ever played?
Hey, do you remember?
Yeah. The first show I ever played. And it's, wait, I don't know if it can be called a show, but on 6th grade, there was, when we were graduating elementary school and moving into how do you call it? Because it's not secondary school like we call it in Mexico.
Middle school is what you would call it here, yeah.
Yeah. So in my particular school, it was elementary school was in one place and middle school and high school were in a different place. So it was sort of like a graduation of sorts. So there was a ceremony. And me and a couple of friends played on that ceremony. That was the first time I ever played in public.
What did you play?
Blink-182. I had just picked up the bass like 2 months before that. It was definitely elementary school.
Okay, wait. What Blink-182 song?
Damn It.
Dude, me too.
Yeah.
My first concert, I was playing Damn It by Blink-182.
And there's another song, I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember the name. But it was 2 Blink-182 songs.
Okay.
I have a video. We sounded like ass, man. It was so bad. But like we felt like rock stars, dudes. Like we finished that gig and I thought like, man, I killed it. You know? Like I really was so excited. And
that's
like,
intoxicating. That'll get you going.
I know. Yeah. And I see the videos. I have them. And it's like I look awkward. I sound awkward. It's like, but I felt so good.
In your mind,
inside,
you're a rock star.
It's like it was crazy.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah. Very much a similar first show kind of story to mine.
That was a great question to end the.
That was perfect.
Thing,
Okay, so there's just one more thing you got to do.
What?
You got to look into the camera and say, "I put my pants on one leg at a time."
I put my pants on one leg at a time.
You heard it here first, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Put your pants on one leg at a time. One leg at a time. One leg. Put your pants on one leg at a time.